Boom, now we're hot. Now I'll be able to sync that.
We did a whole damn episode, hour and a half in, and fucking didn't hit that record button.
Jeez, that would suck.
It did.
Do it all over again?
Probably the next day.
Yeah, especially when you get some really good stuff.
Yeah, no shit. Trying to recreate that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do a little intro, and then if you think of anything, do you want to? I'll write stuff. I'll usually think about stuff all the time, and whenever, just chime in on anything.
Yep.
Yeah, just ask away.
It's just a bullshit session.
Yeah, ask away and we'll bullshit through it.
What I should almost Instagram live this, but I'm not going to. Probably would only get like 60 people watching it. Okay. I'm going to do, you guys are online. You guys are 2-4.
Check.
Maxed.
Sounds pretty good.
Okay. I muted you out for real quick, just for on here. Do a little bit of an intro, and then we're going to get into it. What's up, guys? I'm James O'Neill. You're here with O'Neill Ops, and this is the Predator Hunter podcast. This is the place where we break it down. We go into detail with the equipment that we use and how we use that equipment application specific. Today, this whole weekend, actually, we've had some special guests, some fellas that we've been working with for quite a while. And we talked with Rich yesterday at Ultimate Night Vision. Tyler Adair from Ultimate Night Vision came down, and Chris Robinson from the NightCrew came down with them. And if you guys don't know our history, I'll kind of briefly reflect on that real quick for you guys. But the first time that I met Chris was probably close to just 6-7 years ago, I would say.
Longer than that.
It's 10 years ago?
It was like 2010.
Okay. Okay, and you'd remember. I would honestly say that was probably some of the most intense coyote hunting that I really got into. When we were filming, you were with Mossy Oak at the time, or you were with Carnivore at the time,
right? And
we literally had probably the most epic hunt, not over exaggerating, that I've ever filmed or ever taken part of, where we actually killed multiple singles, a double, a triple, a quad, and a quint, all on 2 HD cameras in a matter of like 20 hours, less than that, probably more like 10 hours of film time.
That's crazy.
And then things just kind of progressed from there. Chris kind of did his thing, and we did our thing with YouTube, and it's been really cool to see the progression that Chris has made in the past decade, from the basically being a film man for a certain show to not only a film man but a producer of his own show, to now having a snowball effect on a YouTube channel that's well over 100,000 subscribers and looking to be significantly more soon. One of the things that I would really like to kind of stress is there's a lot of coyote hunters out there. There's a lot of killers out there that you may not hear of and that a lot of guys might know about, but there's not very many guys out there that shoot. When I say shoot, I mean film their own kills, edit their own kills, render, upload, produce, and show what they do. There's not a whole lot of guys out there that do that. Most guys are talking heads, and they hire somebody else to film it. And I take like a personal interest, if you will, in guys that go that extra step. It's work that people have no idea that's involved. They don't have any idea how much work is involved in that. They don't. And with that said, that's kind of the brief introduction of kind of the introductory relationship that we had with Chris. Why don't you just introduce yourself and tell guys how you started doing it? Let's start there. Tell guys how you started, what got you into it, and kind of how you've progressed.
The filming side or just the killing side?
Start from the first that you started doing first, whether it was filming first or killing first, and then you're like, hey, why don't we do this? However you started.
Well, I really just, as far as predators and night hunting, I got into it when I was, a little kid. I was probably 8 years old, 9 years old. In fact, the first show in season 6, which is about to start on Sportsman's Channel here in about 2 weeks, it's actually a show that goes back all the way to the beginning, the very beginning of how I really kind of got into night hunting and predators, and just kind of, that's where it all kind of started. And I hunted a bunch with my dad growing up, and I kind of got out of it a little while. I started doing more fishing, and probably when I was about, 18, 19 years old, I really got back into night hunting and just kind of figuring out how it worked. And then from there, it went to, me and a few buddies, we hunted a lot at night, and we hunted some tournaments and had some success. And we got to the point where we're like, some of the stuff that we're doing, if we could just show people some of this, if we could bring our hunts and show people what we're experiencing, I've always felt like if we can convey the fun that we have across a TV screen, and if the viewer can actually enjoy it only half as much as we did actually being there, then we could have some kind of successful audience, a successful show. And when we first started filming was back in 2007. That's when I bought my first camera. And do you remember what the camera was? It was a Canon XHA1. It was an old. It filmed on these little mini DV cassette tapes. They were just garbage. I mean, compared to the stuff that we have now. And it was at the time, that was Canon's kind of for the that level of camera. It was a nice camera. But long story short, as I'm sure you well know, there's a big separation between killing and filming. The two don't go together. It's like you either have to decide, okay, I'm either going to go out killing and have a good time, leave the camera at the house, or we're going to basically make that camera in charge. And unless you take that approach with it, you just as well just go have fun killing and leave the camera at the house. So what happened, and to further complicate it, because we're night hunters, we had to get around the situation of the fact that you're basically taking a camera out into complete darkness. Even a high-dollar camera, they don't work in complete darkness. You got to basically have good lighting for any camera, even if it's a $100,000 rig. It's got to have good lights.
Yeah, why don't you, before you get as far as your night hunting, it's a little different than what we do as far as night hunting. Mm-hmm. And there might be some people that don't know what kind of night hunting you do, per se. Why don't you explain, how you go about your night hunting deal real quick? Yeah,
there's a big difference between Texas and most of the other states. We're probably the most relaxed state when it comes to night hunting laws. I mean, I think there's only 2 or 3 states in the country that you can actually legally hunt from a vehicle, and Texas is one of them. And when I grew up, when me and my dad were going out, we would go and hop in the back of a truck, take the spare tire and stick it up on top of the cab of the truck, and that was our shooting rest. If something come in from the back, we didn't
freehand.
Yeah, it was pretty much just do what you had to do to kill them.
Yep.
So, at any rate, we built high racks, and I think the one that we're on now is probably like the 4th or 5th version of the latest ones that we built. But the last one that we built was probably back in about 2012. The one that we're running now, it's kind of evolved. We've tweaked some things on it, but long story short, Texas lets us hunt. We can kill as many bobcats as we want, 365 days a year, many coyotes as we want, many foxes we want. There's lots of things that we can do that a lot of other states, unfortunately, and obviously, luckily guys like you are kind of paving the way for more night hunters to be able to hunt with thermal and night vision equipment, stuff like that. But primarily Texas, from the time I was probably about 18 to the time I was probably 35, was primarily, if you were a night hunter, you're a spotlighter. That was kind of the thing. And that was kind of before the days of thermal and before they got really, really popular in predator hunting or hog hunting in Texas. Well, growing up, that was kind of our bread and butter was, you know, if we were going to go out at night, we were going to be hunting coyotes or bobcats with lights because that's what our area has. We don't have any fox. It's mostly all coyotes and cats. But from a law standpoint, it's kind of hard to compare Texas to really any other state because there's no other state out there that you can get away with what we do there. It's unfortunate. I wish it was different. I wish every state allowed hunting just like we have in Texas because it's so much fun.
Sure.
You know, but lately within the past 6 or 7 years, obviously thermal has kind of made a huge, there's been a big transition as far as the way that a lot of guys go about it. You know, since thermal's it's getting more competitive as far as the brands that are out there. They're more affordable for a lot of guys to be able to afford it. But there's still a bunch of guys that kind of come from the same generation that I did. I'm 42. You know, I don't consider myself to be super old, but I'm a lot older than a bunch of these kids that are, you know, they decide they want to go night hunt. Well, what do? The first thing they do is they see all these guys running thermal, and they're like, we got to go get thermal and kill coyotes. Well, for me, no matter, don't tell Tyler I said this, no matter how much thermal becomes popular, no matter how cheap it gets, no matter how good it gets, I will always be a light guy at heart, no matter what.
Keep your train of thought, but like the way that I put it together is I put a value on our day footage. And I can relate that to your night footage with a light. It seems like a kill under light or with like a lensed camera has X amount more value than
a thermal kill.
Yes,
100%.
Yeah.
Until even if thermal got to the point where it was 4K, and I could go out and get a 4K camera, the guys most of the guys that are when they first get into it. If they jump straight into thermal, they don't understand what it means to have a light on your head. You're calling, you're scanning 360, you're looking around. It's kind of like the best analogy I can make for it. If you've ever went fishing and you cast out a cork and you see that cork go boop and disappear, that excitement you get, that feeling that you get, you can see it 1,000 times and you still get just as excited about it as the first time it ever happened. It's the same thing when you're scanning and boom, there's a set of eyes going back at you like laser beams. And for me, that's the thing that I grew up doing, and that's what I cut my teeth on hunting at night, and that's what I want to see, and that's what I like to do. The thermal for us is the best way to put it. It's a supplement to benefit what we already do, and it's not necessarily something that I would. If I had to trade one or the other, it would always go back to there's just something about seeing those coyotes, having a coyote standing there at 20 yards, lit up like a Christmas tree, and he has no clue that you're there.
Yeah,
he can't see anything, all because he's blinded. In fact, the amount of light from the time they get to about 70 yards, 60, 70 yards, there's actually technically more light on that coyote than ones you filmed during the middle of the daytime.
So what's a call shy coyote look like for you as far as like what later in the season our day footage we'll get call shy coyotes? Do you see the same thing with night hunting?
Well, when it comes to, I think the question is worded a little bit not wrong. For us, it's a light shy coyote.
Okay, yeah.
Because one of the things that thermal has done is, in a way, because of the fact that a lot of guys now are running thermals, instead of driving down the road spotlighting wherever they go, guys that just want to go out and do whatever, hitting every coyote they see and squeaking at it, now they're cruising the back roads with thermal. And what that does for a light guy, it actually helps him. Because when I go in that same spot and I call that coyote up and hit him with the light, he doesn't associate that light with danger, getting shot at, smelling you. It actually helps the guys that are out there shining. So when it comes to actually seeing those coyotes that are educated, like what you're talking about, we have a lot of coyotes in our area that just flat out will not come to a call. In fact, one of the advantages that we've had with thermal, now if we've got a coyote out in a pasture that's educated, we can see him out there reacting to it. And we've had some that will pull in a pasture, get in on them good, where everything's nice and quiet, don't booger them, they're still happy, doing their thing. And you hit a call, and they about do a backflip and turn inside out trying to get out of there. Before, we would have never even seen that coyote.
Sure.
We have plenty of those in our area. But when it comes to a light, there's a big difference between a coyote that basically has been, well, let me back up. A coyote that's been called and hit with the light, or he's been called and hit with the light and he smelled you and got out of there, those coyotes, it's real easy to educate a coyote when you're dealing with lights. I think it's a lot harder because they lose their visual when they're dealing with thermal a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But the coyote that usually in most cases, and people see when they watch the show, they see these animals coming into this big, huge light, and they're like, how in the world are these animals doing that? I bet they spook a bunch of them with that big light. Well, in fact, most of the time when we have a coyote that gets boogered from a light, it's before those lights ever even come on. What'll happen, Ronnie usually has a Scan Pro on his head. He'll shine 360, and it's just basically bright enough to detect eyes based on the size of field we're hunting. So if you got a 500-yard opening, he's got his light dialed in bright enough to where if a coyote pops out, he can see it at that distance most of the time. So a lot of times what will happen whenever we hit those coyotes with his first light, you'll see them for a split second, and then boom, they're gone. The big lights won't even come on at that point. So for us to be successful, it's just really a matter of whenever we have that happen with a coyote, instead of trying to go back to that same spot after, time after time after time, trying to get that same coyote to kill him with the light, we go find another coyote that hadn't seen it. We keep hunting until we find the right coyote. And if we keep doing that, eventually we're going to bump into a dumb one that hadn't seen it. And those are the ones that'll come literally walk right up to us with as much light as we've got, just blasting them right in the face.
So will a coyote, do they try and wind you, circle you at when you hit that, we hit them with a big light or no?
If most of the time, if we get to a point to where we've got a coyote that's committed and he's kind of past the first stage, which when I say the first stage, he's been hit with the headlamp, and he keeps coming like that light ain't even there. People ask, and I'm going to answer your question here in a second. People ask all the time. They ask, how in the world do you guys get those animals to come to that light like that? And what I tell them is, we're not getting them to come to a light. We've never made one single coyote or one single bobcat ever come to a light. We're making them come to a sound. And the reason that they're dealing with that light is because their mind is on something else. It's not on that light that's staring them in the face. You got to think those animals, they've lived their whole life chasing rabbits and rats and whatever. As long as that sucker hadn't seen it and we hit him with that first light, usually the ones that are not educated to it will just, it's like the light doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And when we find those, typically, unless we screw something up, like if we bang something or, do something that's not right and just puts them on alert, he's just going to keep coming. Most of the times when we get them committed and they're coming and once the big lights are on them, it's usually just a matter of getting them where we want them and killing them for the most part. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
That's cool, dude.
If you guys want to see some stuff that, you get coyotes close and you want to see 10 yards, 15, whatever shots or coyotes that close, the NightCrew stuff is what you want to check out.
Yeah.
These guys get them in the back of the truck.
I'm not shy about telling guys that you're if you do good enough work, it's going to get seen. And the work that you guys do
I appreciate
top notch. There's nothing out there like it. For how close you get, how clear it is, the attention to detail, it's like Nat Geo kind of filming.
I don't know if I'd go that deep.
It's cool, dude. We're not. It's just how it is. But so from when you started filming, when you started hunting, you kind of did that. What would you say your first gig was? What led you into your first your first cameraman gig or or did you do a DVD first and then transition to being a cameraman for someone, or how did that go?
Well, the first thing that we did, we decided we had this idea that we were going to make $1 million off of making this predator hunting, this night hunting DVD.
We've been there, dude. We've been there.
Yes, we sold.
We had one of them.
copies.
Yeah. We had one of them.
So,
Gave away more than we sold, right?
so about that time frame, I want to say it was 2009, somewhere 2008, 2009, somewhere in that ballpark. When we first started filming, we were filming with a red light. And, you know, there's a big debate as far as, you got to have a red light. You got to have a green light or a white light. Bottom line, I won't go off into that rabbit hole. Use what you want to use.
Yeah.
Use what you want to use, whatever suits you
we
best.
all know thermal's the way to go, right, Chris?
Huh?
We all know thermal's the way to go anyways,
Yeah,
right?
I think when somebody asks me what color light they need to use, I'm just going to say, just go buy a thermal.
Yeah, there you go.
So, no, but at any rate, we when we first started, we were using a red light, and we quickly, within the first 6 months, we got to the point where it was like, okay, this ain't going to work. I mean, it was like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Thermal makes it compared to what we were trying to do with a red light and a nice camera, what the technology we have now is with thermal, just being able to go out there and hit a button and record. It's not even close to the difficulty. So we finally were like, okay, we got to try the white light. There's other guys that used a white light, so we knew, okay, those guys are hunting in Texas, so we could probably do it if they're doing it, because our animals and the terrain and stuff are probably pretty similar to theirs. So I thought, okay, one of these days, let's just go hunt. And back then we were using those big Light Force lights. They were like this big. I think it was like a one Light Force 240 or something like that. It was giant. I mean, it looked like you were like that light right there. And we decided, okay, we're going to take the lens cap off of it, the red filter that came with it off, and we're just going to try it just to see what happens. It was either going to basically, when we hit that first coyote with it, he was either going to tuck tail and run, or he was going to keep coming like they always had with the red light. So we pull in this pasture, and back then we were shooting a lot of shotguns. We don't shoot a whole lot of shotguns anymore, but matter of fact, Ronnie was on the shotgun, and we're shining, hit this coyote with this light, and he's probably in fourth gear, and he's coming, and he just kept on coming. Well, the guy that we had on the light, he kind of hesitated for a second and took the main beam off of him. You know, you got the halo underneath, and he was holding him in the halo, and I'm trying to film him, and I was like, dude, he's coming. Just put the whole light on him, see what he does. So we lowered that light down on top of him, and I'll be dang, that coyote, that light wasn't even there. And he kept on coming. Finally, at like 20 yards, we shot him with a 12 gauge. It was like, ding. So at that point, we're like, okay, A, red light's never getting used ever again to film with. B, a white light is possible. How do we make it better? And for me, personally, from a video standpoint, from day one, I've always felt like if we ever get in the truck after a good hunt or a good kill, and we say, well, I think that's usable. If we ever say that, nobody ever sees it. Because unless it's something that's exceptional that gets people's attention, how's that going to separate what we're showing people from all the other stuff that's out there? So long story short, we spent probably, one season hunting with a handheld white light. I don't know if I ever told you this story or not, but it's kind of funny how it all turned out. When you're filming at night, when you're not running thermal and you're running lights and a camera, and there's two different people doing that, there's no physical way possible that light and that camera are ever in sync. And the guy that was on the light, it doesn't matter how hard he tried to be still.
Man, I had it right on him.
Yeah, no matter how hard it's just like you could sit there and watch it. The camera will be steady as can be, but the light guy's just sitting there and the light's just quivering. Well, what it does is it gives the effect that the camera's shaking.
Sure.
And it's not.
Sure.
And we'd have these coyotes coming in nice and pretty, and they'd get up there at 60 yards, and they'd just smile for the camera, and then as soon as the gunshot go off,
yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, and I finally got the point where I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to fix this. So I decided I'm going to take a light. That camera head that you got, same one that you got. I said, I'm going to figure out a way to attach a light to that camera to where no matter where that camera goes, there's always going to be a light looking down the lens of that camera. He could go over there and be giving Morse code to the moon, and I still got a light. It don't matter. So I came up. You should see this thing. It's kind of like, you remember how Iron Man went through that transformation of his first suit to like the one he's got now? That's kind of what it was like. So I built this thing, and it's like giant. You know, it's got one big light in the front of it. And at the time, we had kind of gone through the transition of the red light to the white light. Now we're thinking, I wonder if they'll put up with 2 lights. That was like, it was funny how our mindset was like, oh my God, I just don't know if this is going to work or not, you know. But it had never been proven to us, so we were like, okay, we got to try this. So the plan was that whenever the animal came, the handheld light would get on the animal, and as the animal was coming, if we get them committed, we were going to turn this light on the camera on. So I can remember it like it was yesterday. We get this coyote coming. Guy's got the handheld light on him. I get my camera light on, and it's funny because you can see the camera light is just steady as can be. It's like rock solid in the middle of the frame, and the old handheld light's just doing this in the middle of the frame, but you can still see it. And about that time, he took his light off of it, and I thought, no, put it right back on him. Just see, you know, just to see what it does. Well, sure enough, the cow with both lights, the handheld light and the camera light, walked right up to the truck. We ended up killing it at like 40 yards. And when that happened, I thought to myself, if we can get away with 2 lights, I wonder what would happen. Because at that time, the footage that we had was basically you'd have this frame, and in the middle of it, you'd have this big donut of light where that one light was, and then you'd have this dark edge of it. And I thought to myself, you know, it would look really cool if everybody could see all of the terrain around the animal as well as just that donut of light. So I thought, you know, I'm going to make a light that goes on the animal, and then I'm going to put one to the left and on the right, okay, and hope that it wouldn't make any difference. Well, 7-8 years later, we basically went through 5 or 6 different light rigs that we've made to basically film, and now we're essentially filming with 4 lights, which are actually way brighter than those other lights that we used to film with. But it's been kind of it's evolved over time into this contraption that we never thought at the time was going to make a big a difference in the way the footage looks. But we knew instantly when we called up that first coyote and we hit him with that first light that was mounted to the camera, it totally changed night footage. It just, bottom line is, there was nothing else that I had personally seen up to that point that had both of the camera and the light in sync. They were always all over the place. And most of the stuff that's out there, at least back then, was mostly red lights. So usually when you had an animal even under 50 yards, it would be a silhouette and a set of eyes. Yeah. You know, and it's like, who wants to watch that? Yeah. At least that's the way I feel.
Yeah, see, there's no color to it, just basically monotones. Yeah.
A silhouette.
But at any rate, did I get derailed?
No. So let's okay. You went to.
I never even answered your question.
No, well, that's fine. You went to the mounted light. So you did a DVD first.
Right. This was when we finished the first DVD. Was before we basically. It was right about the time that we built the first light. I think we had 1 or 2 kills on that first video that we had a camera mounted light on there
with white light.
With white light, with the camera mounted light. The second one that we did was almost all camera mounted light because it blew the old footage away. So that's what we went with on the second one. Well, about the time that we got the second one done, when we were at the point where we wanted to kind of release it to the public, we were going to go to a show. There's a trade show that's in Texas every year in Fort Worth called Texas Trophy Hunters. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but in Texas, it's a pretty big show. Well, we built this nice booth and everything, and we had a flat screen TV up mounted in it with the video playing and stuff while we were there. We sold a bunch of videos and stuff like that, but what happened? There's a guy named Gary Robertson And I don't know if you've heard of Burning Brothers calls. Well,
Yep.
at that point in time, they were at the point where Gary and another guy, which you know is Dustin Shed, they were kind of putting together this plan to have this predator hunting show on Pursuit Channel. And they knew that they wanted to have some nighttime guys to do night hunting that had nighttime footage, because Gary's a little older. He doesn't want to stay up late and film night hunts. That's just what it boiled down to. Well, they came by the booth, and Gary was telling a story later. He said, when I went by the booth and I saw the footage, he's like, I knew there was something that was a little different about it, because, you usually don't see, when most people talk about hunting with lights, you usually don't see animals with that much light on them. You just don't see that. In your mind, it's hard to wrap your head around why those animals come to that light like that. So he's like, that's our night guys. So from there, we spent the first 4 years, basically, as far as any kind of TV relationship, we did all their night hunting. We did usually 2 or 3 shows per season. From the first season of Carnivore, that was the name of the show, is Carnivore. The first season through the 4th season, we were their nighttime guys.
Would you edit your own stuff for that then, or no?
No, back then, and I was already editing back then. I was just I had edited the DVDs.
Right.
But I was just trying to learn and figure out how to do my own stuff. And one thing I do see in you is you've got the same mindset that I know how I want it to look in my head, and until I get it that way, I'm not satisfied. And that may be a bad thing, but I really feel like that it pushes me to try to make it as good as I could possibly make it. And what happened when we were in about, I don't know, season 3 or 4, I finally got to the point where I was like, I love the show. I enjoy doing what we're doing for Gary and Carnivore, and that was a great experience for us.
Before you keep going, were you weren't only filming the night episodes, you were also, were you traveling around with them filming for their day stuff as well, or did they have a different designated cameraman?
Gary's son Steve did a lot of the day filming for Gary.
Okay.
But Dustin was Mossy Oak's marketing director. And Dustin basically did some traveling on his own, and whenever he went to some places, I went on a few of those trips. Matter of fact, one of them was obviously the one that we went up here and filmed with you guys, which was awesome. That was, I'll never forget that as long as I live. But no, most of the times when I probably went on maybe 8 or 10 trips with them, filming, helping them film, just running cameras and stuff like that. And
so it was primarily the night gig is what you were, primarily that's what you did.
Yeah, that was that's our niche. That's what we did. And in a nutshell, we basically spent the first 4 years with them. Well, right about the time that we were, in that 4th season, I got to the point where it was like, I wanted to have our own personal identity when it came to the way that people saw our footage and the way we portrayed it to people. And nothing against Gary or none of the producers of the show, but it's like you guys, you want your footage to look a certain way, and you want it to come across a certain way, to where it has a certain feel to it. And that's what I was looking for. And long story short, we spent 2 or 3 years trying to figure out how to make it work. There's a lot of ins and outs that a lot of people don't really understand when it comes to networks. And, if you guys see people on TV and they think, oh, those guys are making a fortune. They're on the Outdoor Channel or Sportsman's Channel. That's the furthest thing from the truth that you could possibly get. In fact, most of the people that have a TV show, probably 98% of them have like a day job outside, something that they do to support their hunting and their TV show. That's just the bottom line. And for us to feasibly and financially be able to go and do it, we had to make the right connections, find the right sponsors, which that's one thing we've been very fortunate is from day one, we've basically had the same key sponsors that are a natural fit into what we want the show to be like. We've got to sell their products, but at the same time, we want to have a good show that has a good story, that every single week, the people that are following it they're not gonna know what they're gonna watch from week to week. You know, and we don't have to really, the people that are sponsored, that are all of our partners for the show, they've all been great sponsors that have products that we use. We actually legitimately use them.
That's the big part. I agree with that. It's tough to try to, you just get money from somebody for a product that you don't legitimately use.
I draw the line.
Yeah.
And people may say BS. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's been people that have come up to us and said, we really want to sponsor the show. Can you, put our products out there? And I honestly, the way that I look at it is, if I have to deviate from the story that I want people to hear, to go and sell a product, that product is not the right fit for this show.
Yep.
And I care more about the show than I do about making an extra buck to push products. Nothing against
a lot of people don't think that way, though.
Don't think that way.
I bet 90% of people don't.
No, and the thing is, what happens when they do that is you dilute the show with so many different products that at the end of it, if you do care about giving a good story, that story gets lost in all the diluted stuff that you have to do to be able to make all those companies happy. And to me, that's the biggest thing when you're dealing with outdoor programming, is the model that they use for how a producer gets from point A to B. Usually in most big networks, you have a production company, they produce a show, the network buys that show from that production company. In outdoor programming, it's the reverse of that. I have a show, and then I have to go and buy that airtime, and for me to be able to pay for that airtime, I've got to have partners that basically pay to advertise through my show to pay for that airtime. And it's a really, really tricky balance. The best thing that I can say for guys that may be thinking, okay, well, I want to have a TV show, is figure out, A, what can I do that's different? And B, what products that I naturally use that I don't have to really go out of my way to sell on that show. Because we figured out that if people watch the show and they see how much fun we have, and they see us using all the gear, they, without us even have to say, hey, you need to go and check this out. You need to go and buy this or look at this or that. They're contacting us and saying, what are you guys using?
Yep.
And it's not subliminal advertising. It's just showing people. I mean, who doesn't want to go have fun? If you can show people how much fun this stuff is, and you basically deliver it to them in a way to where they don't feel like they're getting products run down their throat. To me, that's a win-win for everybody in the end,
And most of your viewers genuinely appreciate that.
They do.
They see it not as a paid advertisement.
Yeah. And that's nothing against guys that's the way they want to do it. If that's their thing and that's the way they want to run their show, then by God, that's their show. And if they're successful doing it, great. For me, I care more about the guy sitting there, the mom and dad and kids sitting there on the couch, enjoying a show and getting hooked into it to where they can't change the channel because they want to find out what happens.
Yep. Yeah. That's cool.
That's my goal.
That's a good goal. So you went from you progressed from early on, then you went to the DVD, then Carnivore picked you up, then you decided you wanted to do your thing. Mm-hmm. You knew that you could do it. You had goals. You had kind of a mindset of how you wanted to present your footage. And then you achieved that by basically starting your own show called the NightCrew on the Sportsmans Channel,
right?
Which you're now in what season?
This is going into season 6.
Okay.
Season 6
already.
That's crazy.
It doesn't seem like it should be season 6 already.
No, it just seems like yesterday I was like, we're about to go in this first year. I'm going to see how this goes. Yeah. This is either going to fail miserably or it's going to be good,
So go ahead.
We're going into season 6. It starts, I want to say that this year it starts like either the second to last or the last week in December. sometimes our first air week is actually the week before New Year's.
Okay.
So if guys want to watch it, they go on Sportsman's Channel and just look for NightCrew. Usually about 2 or 3 weeks before it airs, it'll pop up on your guide.
Yep.
You'll see it pop up, and it'll be on there.
And nowadays you don't have to sit there and wait in line or come in at a certain time. You can just DVR it.
Yeah, DVR. That's, to be honest with you, I bet more than 80% of the people that watch it probably DVR it.
Yeah.
So
What night did you say it was on?
our primetime airing is on Monday nights at 6:30, I think.
Okay.
6:30 or 7. So
That's cool.
the rest of them you probably don't want to stay up to watch. It's like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Oh God, yeah.
But
So is there anything in between that from the beginning to your Sportsman's Channel debut or your Night Crew show that you have now? Anything in between there that you can think of that you might want to touch base on? Because then we're gonna go to the shitstorm, the where it's gonna get real.
Yeah.
The social media side of things.
I don't know. Let me think.
And what did you said Ronnie and who, Gary?
Yeah,
Them guys
Gary-
been with you since day one?
Yeah, pretty much. Ronnie's been there from the beginning. There's been a few guys that have kind of come and gone,
Right.
And we've moved forward. That's one good thing. And this is one thing I want to make sure everybody understands: is there's not enough room in outdoor programming for any more celebrities, and we've never looked at it that way. This show is not about any one single person.
You can tell dude, when I see Night Crew, you're honestly the person that's why I'm like, that's Chris.
That's how we know it.
It's an automatic.
Yeah.
I think most people
But
automatically
like you said, you never
what do you
see
mean?
you. You know what I mean?
you're the
the camera
cameraman,
guy?
you're the producer, you're the editor. It's just an automatic for somebody like me. That's how you see it. But we appreciate how you genuinely look at it, because you see 90% of other guys and they're the personality. They're like, hey dude, it's about me. This is the,
And again, if that's their thing,
Yep.
knock yourself
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
Yeah.
But the way that we kind of look at it, I personally have always looked at it from the approach that I don't see myself that interesting. That what people see, to me, the animals are the heroes of the deal. You know, they're the ones that's what I want people to see, and be able to see stuff that you don't normally get to see. And I feel like that from day one, all the people that are involved have the same mindset. We're not selfish. We could care less about being in front of a camera, and we've kept it that way from day one. And to me, that's kind of why we've had the right recipe when it comes to the individuals that are involved. And we've kept it on that level and never got a big head about anything. And I honestly, genuinely can say that about everybody: Gary, Ronnie, Matt, and myself.
And I think it shows.
Yeah, for sure. It does. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, even like on the show, if you watch the show, whenever most TV shows, whenever you got, somebody pop up on the screen, it's like such and such name, it's got their title, pro staff, and all that.
Yeah.
When you see people that you hadn't seen in the entire show, you won't see a name. It's like, we don't care.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. We don't care.
Yeah.
It's not about us. The show's about having fun hunting at night. And if we can show that to people, then
And
we
trying to show the highest quality footage that you possibly can
100%.
along the way.
100%.
Yeah.
And the footage too, and we figured out too, especially since NightCrew started, since we started the show, we figured out from just editing and trying to lay the shows out, we figured out that even the kills themselves kind of take a back seat to the story.
Yeah. 100%. Yep.
We've had shows that had probably some of the least quality kills on them, but they had really good stories with them that, in my opinion, are like head and shoulders more captivating above some of the ones where you see some of the best coyote footage we've ever got. So in the last 3 or 4 years, we've really tried to focus pre-season before we really start filming on we make a list. We got 13 episodes. Before we ever even go out and take out for a night, we've got each individual show at least for the most part, by the time we start filming, which is usually for us about September timeframe, right towards the beginning of fall, we'll at least have 8 or 10 different stories or concepts or ideas in our head that when we go out, if we get a certain kill that fits it supports one of those stories, when we go and we're driving down the road or we're doing a retrieval on an animal, all of those support the story instead of basically making it all about a specific kill or something like that.
I was just going to ask you, as far as your storylines and your different stories and whatnot, just throughout the year, I mean, are you the kind of guy that you think of something and you're like, gosh, that'd make a good show? Or you write that story down, and then,
I've been driving down the road before and had an idea pop in my head and then grab my phone and turn the video on and just start talking like narration.
Yeah.
Because for me, the hardest part, the backbone of the show is the narrating part. And I never in my life thought that narrating would be as difficult as it is. And I cringe when I go back and I watch like season 1 or 2, because it's just, when I watch it, to me, it's horrible, because I've gotten to the point where it's like, I kind of know how I need to write. I'll actually write out the narration for each show. Believe it or not, we'll basically lay the timeline out, and then when it comes to the narrating part, I'll have my gaps in between different sections of the show that I know that's going to have narration, and I have a general idea of what most of the narration is going to be beforehand. But once I actually go in, it comes time to actually record it. That's when you really realize how stupid you sound. I'm serious. Because whenever you go and you talk, I know I sound like a hick. You guys don't. Yeah. But when you talk into a mic, you sound totally different when you play it back to yourself than you did saying it.
Yep.
So I finally got the point when I started writing my narration, instead of like writing it like it's supposed to be, I actually write it the way I would say it. So a good example is, instead of saying, I'm fixing to go do something, I usually would say, I'm fixing to go do something. There's a big difference between those two. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I know what you mean, yeah.
So I write it, I'm F-I-X-ing T-A go D-U-S-O-M-P-T.
Yeah.
In. I'm serious. So
and that's how you write it down, huh?
I'll write it down that way, and I'll read through it right quick, and I'll be like, oh, okay, that sounds like me.
Yep.
And then say it. So that to me was like I had to learn that part just through trial and error, and trying to figure out how to make it sound like, instead of when you're watching the show, instead it sound like somebody's sitting there reading a teleprompter.
Yep.
It just sounds and feels like somebody's just sitting there and having a conversation with you, because that's the way I wanted it to feel, So
you do a good job at it.
Yeah,
if you listen to how you verse everything and how it's very well spoken.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good, dude.
I'm trying. I promise. It's not easy.
It's professional.
That's the hardest part about it.
I've actually sat back and thought about it, and I'm like, dude, that takes some brain power to do that.
It's you have to think the way you have to look at it. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together. You got to see the big picture at the end and figure out how do you start the story over here, and you basically tell that story until you get to the point where you've got kind of the hero moment at the end where the story comes full circle. And to do that through the video and through the narration, it's basically like the narrator's having to hold the viewer's hand basically the whole time. You're the one that's basically facilitating this show and hoping that this show comes across like you want it. Because if people can grasp the story and they understand it and get it at the end and they enjoy it, like legitimately enjoy it, and you can hit them here sometimes.
Yep.
That's how you, in my opinion, that's how you have a winning show.
Yep.
So
and when you narrate it, it's not like you would think most stories or most videos are narrated. To me, like most guys, if they narrate it, they're literally just recording what happened during the hunt.
Yeah, there's a big difference between whenever somebody kills like let's say you go and kill a coyote, and they go up and they're talking about this coyote. He went over that hill and he went over behind that tree and he went over and did this. I mean,
you're just
everybody just watched that.
yeah, you're just telling what
Yeah.
happened. Like, yeah.
But if you can convey how that made you feel,
Yep.
that's to me how you convey how much fun you had.
And it's a lot harder to do. That's why most people don't do it.
It's a whole lot harder to do.
That's,
you know, and that's, I guess if you want to call it to me the hook.
yep.
That's where the hook is at, is when you can get people to feel the show and what they watched emotionally. That's, to me, that's good movies.
Yeah.
Every
Oh,
good
heck
movie,
yeah.
when you walk out of there, you're like, dude,
Yeah.
that got me. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
So
So what's it? 6 years you said, and then what's your future look like for NightCrew?
living in a van down by the river, maybe.
That's funny shit.
I mean, is there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, none of us know, you know, tomorrow could be our
Do you,
last
do you
day.
enjoy doing it?
I really do. What I guess the best way that I can the best analogy that I can use when it comes to the show and trying to turn it's kind of art in a way.
Oh, hell yeah, it is. 100%.
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you look at
It's
it.
art, and whenever you get done with it, it's just like you step back and you say,
You did that.
"Did that? I like it."
Yeah.
You know, and for me, that's kind of just it's a bit of satisfaction, just feeling like that. You know, you've done something, you've got something to show for it, and it you know, people would actually enjoy it. That to me is that's the fuel to my fire, is just trying to make it better and make the end result better each time. You know,
And that's tough to do.
it really is.
You keep that's what you call, that's the difference between average and really extraordinary, because what you're doing is you're setting a goal, you're meeting it, and then you're setting another goal higher, and you're meeting it, and you're setting another goal higher, and you're trying to meet it. And there's a point where you just,
Where's it stop?
Yeah.
it's
It ain't gonna for me.
that's what's
It
awesome.
ain't gonna. And the thing is, like I told you yesterday, is whenever you get to the point where you feel like you've made it, then if you feel like you've reached your plateau and it's the best that it can be, and it's, you know, it's never going to get any better, that's the point where you actually start going backwards.
Yeah.
Because the guy that doesn't look at it that way, he's going to pass you.
Yep.
You know, so the way we look at it is unless we keep pushing the envelope, then, you know,
You're gonna maintain that plateau.
exactly.
Yep.
I heard one of the shows I used a quote by he was a composer. He did like compositions for like Batman and all these big high end movies. He said his name was Hans Zimmer. He said if there's a rule, break it, because that's the only way things start moving forward. And I've always looked at that like, I don't give a rip what everybody says I can't do. I'm going to go just because they told me I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I'm going to go
yeah.
and prove them I can do it.
Yep.
You know, it's the same thing with like some of the stuff that we've done with these lights. It's like from day one, you should have heard some of the pushback we got from the guys that were preaching, you got to have a red light to kill coyotes. You can't kill a coyote with a white light. Hell, I don't know how much more light we want to put on them to prove that that's not true, you know? But stuff like that motivates me to not necessarily prove them wrong, but I want to really prove them wrong.
Yeah. I
know?
can see how that would go.
There's that side of me too. It's like I am competitive, you know, and I just like making it as good as we can make it, put it that way. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, that's what makes people, like I said, extraordinary. It sets ordinary from extraordinary. That's what makes people good.
And this is another thing. No matter how much we learn, and no matter how much we get to the point where it's like we've got these things figured out, the highest, doesn't matter if you're day hunting, night hunting, running lights, running thermal, it don't matter. The highest that you will ever reach, the highest that you'll ever reach, the highest that I'll ever reach, as far as a title, is at best is learners. No matter what, we're all going to be learners till the day that we die, because a coyote, the first time that you think that you've got them figured out, they're going to put you on your knees. And
I think
humble
if you stop learning, you lose.
Exactly.
You know,
especially with technology. If technology keeps getting better and better and better, you know, we were talking about it the other day. These guys are going out and they're killing 100 coyotes in 2 or 3 nights. 15 years ago, heck, 7 or 8, 9 years ago, I had never seen or heard of anything like that.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with technology and the way that at the rate that that's going, you know, until you stay in front of that and constantly be pushing what you do to be the best you can at it, you're going to get left behind. Yeah. That's the bottom line.
It's almost scary.
It
if
really
you sit back and look
is.
at it with how fast technology is advancing, it's twofold over. And from what we had, from 5 years ago till now, just looking at the thermal, in 5 more years, what the hell is it going to be?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's already, I mean, you guys are seeing a little bit of it. I mean, South Dakota's only had really thermal out there for what, 5 years, 6 years?
If that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, when you came, probably 5, I bet.
The biggest difference between here is we've got hundreds of years worth of night hunting under our belt.
Yeah.
So Texas is probably the biggest night hunting state in the country. So you guys are kind of like, your South Dakota is kind of like an infant. There's not a whole lot of guys out there
and we already see it.
Yeah.
And you're already seeing the results of some of that. But for us, there's so many guys out there that are getting thermal, and it's like they're getting calls. It's too much fun to not want to go out and try it, but you still got to figure out the way that you can go out and just keep doing what you're doing to, you know, be successful, you know?
Yeah. So dude, we went through everything up until you're on the Sportsman's Channel. Now you kind of have went the way of social media as well.
Right.
You're putting a lot of your stuff on YouTube. You're well over 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, I have no idea if we're going.
How do you, what's your take on, what's your plans on that?
Act like it's not there, be honest with you, because I would love to have that channel go to, you know, if we could hit 1 million subscribers, it would be awesome. The problem that I've got with that is the fact that you just, based on, you know, the people, a lot of the types of people that run YouTube, what's to say that, you know, the next day they wake up and they say, well, we're not going to have any guns or any hunting channels on YouTube, you know, and it's you can't really get too excited about that. So I'm basically staying optimistic, and we're going to do everything we can to keep putting new content, fresh content up there. We're uploading each season. We got all of our seasons are basically put in folders for playlists. So if somebody hasn't watched the show, they can go on the channel and actually watch all the way from season 1 up to about halfway. We're about halfway through season 5 currently on the channel. But I love the idea of being able to go and live off of YouTube, and maybe one day, Lord willing, it'll get there, you know, but I'm not holding my breath. You know, if it gets there, great. If it doesn't, I'm just kind of, you know, does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
You know,
do you see anything as far as the YouTube channel? Do you see it doing anything for your NightCrew on the Sportsman's Channel? I mean, does it?
No, to be honest with you, if anything, if the YouTube keeps going like it's going, Sportsman's Channel will probably take a backseat to our YouTube.
That's kind of what I thought.
Because frankly, right now we're probably actually getting more views and more exposure through our YouTube channel, even with 100,000 subscribers or whatever it is, than we are actually through Sportsman's Channel. The only difference, you get a lot of good views and a lot of hate. Yeah, obviously, you're a hunter. I mean, no matter what you put, if you're a hunter, you're a bad guy, apparently. But with Sportsman's Channel, you basically have a direct audience to people that are, you know, they're there.
Yep. They're there for a reason, for one, you know. Yep.
They're hunters most likely, and they're looking for hunting shows. And I'm not trying to be negative about YouTube, so don't take it that way. But I feel like that it's kind of, to me, it's going to be something that we're going to continue to keep filming, even if we eventually, you know, transition away from Sportsman's Channel, we're still going to do YouTube. We're still going to keep filming, even if we don't have a YouTube channel. Yep. We're still going to be going out there and filming coyotes at night, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, no matter whether we got a show or not, or a YouTube channel or not, you know, kids and grandkids, when we're dead and gone, they can pull that footage up and they can say, man, look what my dad did.
That's how I look at it too. That's exactly how I look at it. Yep.
So you're going to,
Is there any content on YouTube that you post, that you upload, other than stuff that you've prefabricated, stuff that you've already edited, that say for your Sportsman's Channel? And before that, is there any stipulations or guidelines, or is it all your discretion on, say you edit and you
what
produce?
What I can show and what I can't that's been on Sportsman's?
Yes.
Like a non-compete, like type deal?
Yeah.
There is, to an extent, for the first 3 seasons, it was a 1 year. Our contract that we had with Sportsman's basically gave us a 1 year kind of a non-compete.
You had to let it run on TV before you could upload it, show it anywhere.
They had to have exclusive rights to each episode for at least a year, and then it was basically free and clear of that for me to do whatever with.
I got you.
And then after that, we basically kind of renegotiated with them because we wanted our YouTube channel at that point in time. It was starting to grow.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have basically more current shows up. So what I did is I basically told them, hey, we want to basically start building our channel to where it benefits us and not just the network. So let's cut it in half. Let's do 6 months. So I basically got them to agree to, once the show's been aired on Sportsman's Channel for 6 months, I can upload it to our YouTube channel. That's why back in June, I started uploading season 5.
I got you.
Okay.
I was wondering about that. I was wondering what that length of time was, what that duration
right now
was.
it's 6 months. And there's a lot of the guys at Sportsman Channel they're really good dudes. I mean, they've been super helpful. I mean, if there's been anything that I needed or whatever, they're good guys. It's just, I feel like the timing I would say within the next 3 years, unless there's big changes made to the way that they go about, airtime and their cost and stuff, unless a lot of that changes, we're probably going to start focus on more streaming stuff.
Yep.
Like YouTube and Facebook or whatever.
So is there content that you're uploading to YouTube that people aren't seeing on TV?
Like some of the kill compilations and stuff like that. We'll put just random kills up that they're not actually edited NightCrew episodes.
Yep. So, something that people have never really seen before.
Right.
Maybe on a DVD, an older DVD, if it's something really good.
Yeah, we've got some stuff that's up that's Sportsman's Channel. The only thing they do see is the show itself.
Yep.
And then the rest of it, anything that's not in a playlist is most likely something that's just a random video that we put together. You guys do some of the best work that I've ever seen. I mean, as far as putting I think you call them a production.
Yeah, I call it a production. Appreciate that though. Yeah.
Y'all are, serious. I can tell just by the details and stuff that we try to, the link that we go to try to make things look a certain way. I can tell when you guys get something that trips your trigger, that's some good shit.
Yeah.
We need to go and do the extra stuff to make it worth it.
Yep. Exactly.
So it's solid. But as far as stuff that's on that channel that's not on Sportsman's Channel, there's really, other than just kill after kill after kill videos, like just compilations and stuff like that. That's about it. So
do you have any other plans that you said you're gonna continue just to basically post?
Yeah.
Episodes up where people can go watch them whenever they want. Try to grow your audience on YouTube right now, kind of steadily.
Yeah, whenever, like I said, no matter what happens with Sportsman's Channel, we're going to continue to keep filming NightCrew. And if, it may, the one thing that I do like about YouTube is I don't have any restrictions when it comes to time.
Yeah.
With Sportsman's, I have 22 minutes to work with. So I have 22 minutes to be able to get from point A to B. And if I don't have enough time to do that, then I have to start cutting stuff. And I'm like, sometimes there's some shows that just kind of need to evolve and take the time to tell them. And with YouTube, I can make 45-minute, hour-long shows if I really wanted to. Yeah. So when Sportsman's Channel, if we eventually get to the point where we've kind of moved on from there, people can still go on there and continue to watch new shows. The only difference is it'll be right then.
Yeah.
There ain't going to be no 6-month wait.
Yep. That's cool. That's just having to, like you're saying, worry about trying to fit the storyline, your whole production, your whole narrative, everything that you're trying to compile into your episode in 22 minutes and fit everything in. That's just 22 minutes doesn't seem like very long.
It's a long time when you got to fill it up.
But when you start, that's
really
the thing
is.
where a lot of people don't. That's where like I can genuinely appreciate that, and that's what makes it cool to see the progression from what you. Because I didn't, and nothing against you guys or anything. I never knew what you guys did up until we made contact when you were with Dustin.
Right.
And then you kind of we started talking, and I started looking back, and I see, oh, you guys did this and this and this, and it's really cool to see how you went from the CDs,
the DVD,
or sorry, the DVDs, the burnt discs,
The VHS, your VHS.
You had a VHS, you had the.
Let me rephrase that. The DVD that sold, I think, 65 copies. I think I still have. What would the math be out of 1,000? I still have the boxes in my attic.
There we go. If you guys market them, dude, market them. Do a trailer and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, they're probably going to be out on the curbs, free NightCrew DVD.
Pay you $1 to take one.
Yeah.
To see the progression and advancements, that's pretty cool. To see that from there all the way to now. And like I've said before, my goal is I've just had a goal of 100,000 on YouTube. And it's been a grind to get there, to where I'm not there, or we're not there, but
you'll get there.
But you have to do the work. You know what I mean? That's kind of like when we were riding today in the tractor and we're talking, and I'm like, so does a deadline that's required by the Sportsman's Channel make you more apt to get your production or your edited video done? And you're like, no, it really doesn't, because you already have all that shit done months in advance.
Right.
And see, I'm like getting to the point where I'm kind of a procrastinator, and it's not good.
It's a little bit different. I've told Ronnie this a bunch. I hunt probably more with Ronnie than anybody. In fact, like we were saying, you're Mike Heath is Ronnie. You know, he's just always, when we go, he's always there.
Yep.
You know, most 99% of the time. And we were saying, you know, what happens when we don't have those deadlines? Are we still going to go 4 or 5 nights a week? I mean, so there's nights where there's weeks that we'll hunt literally 4 or 5 nights during the week. Get home at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, get up and do it again the next night. And I thought to myself, I really feel like that with the drive that we have, we're still going to obviously go out and keep filming. But I honestly think that we'll probably set our own goals. If our YouTube channel keeps growing the way it is, I feel like that incentive is there to say we want to have from January 1st to the end of the year, we want to have 10 new episodes.
Yeah.
Something like that. And just basically make our goals just like we always have with Sportsman's Channel, and to put guidelines on ourselves to be able to do that, just to keep people from losing interest.
Yeah, you gotta cater to your base. You gotta cater to those subscribers that want to see more.
Yeah, you really do. And that for me, it's just making sure that the people that are legitimately following the show, you know, and again, we were talking too about the number of subscribers basically doesn't really reflect the actual number of hardcore NightCrew fans. It's always going to be, you're going to have those guys that just want to see just stuff die. I mean, kill after kill after kill. But there are, like when we post a new show from like season 5, you'll go on there, you know, 3 or 4 nights later, and there's 100 comments on there that people are like, man, we've been waiting for the new episode. Yep. We've been waiting on the new episode. Because these people are actually, when we upload a video, they get these updates, you know, new NightCrew episode up, season 5, episode 6 or whatever, you know, and those are the real fans. Those are the ones we care about, you know. So we'll keep them entertained.
And if you could do a couple videos a week, that would grow a lot.
It's easier said than done, though.
Way easier.
We could easily, if all we did was just go out and just do a kill and maybe a retrieval or something like that, just show, you know, something new, just a new kill or something like that, we could probably do 1 or 2 of those a week.
Is that something that you would look at for, say take Sportsman's Channel out of the equation, say your straight social media? Is that something that you would possibly consider doing to grow your channel, and just, you know, as I don't want to just say it as a filler, but a lot less strenuous of
100%.
Something that you would do?
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is when it comes to like putting kills videos and stuff like that together. That's a lot of what YouTube is really looking for, because they start recommending a lot of those videos. And, for us, we've got to grow the channel as well as keep our viewers that are the hardcore viewers that are looking for each new episode, keep both of them happy. We'll post a show and there's guys on there that'll be like, too much freaking talking.
Yeah.
Get to the kill.
Shit,
Yeah.
Way too much talking. We want to see stuff die, you know?
Yeah.
And then we'll go in there and we'll put just a bunch of kills on there, and the other people are like, well, where'd the guy that does all the talking go? Where'd the story go? Where'd the show go?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's still there.
Yeah.
But you also got kind of both, So
You definitely, dude, you see it all. I was just going to ask you that. Like, what's one of the main, do you, I asked
do
you
you
when
really want to get me started? I'm going to call it duck a duck here in a minute if you really want me to.
you check the analytics. I asked on your YouTube channel, like every so often, just to kind of see what your growth is, or what your, what your views are, if they're trending up or if they're maintaining, or your subscribers are going up or they're going down or they're maintaining. Do you pay attention to like a lot of the you can't comments. There's so damn many.
I didn't before, but I got this new app. It's like it's called YouTube Dashboard. I don't know if you've got that on your
I have Studio.
Yeah, this one is, I think it's called.
Dude, don't tell him.
Dude, don't tell me.
He's on his phone enough the way it is.
Dude,
YouTube Studio. It's the same one.
Okay, yep.
Before I had that, I couldn't look. I'd have to go to an individual video to look at comments and stuff like that. And I'm just like, if I'm bored or whatever, I'll sit there and start thumbing through some of them.
Shit, yeah.
Just to see what kind of BS is on there. And there's a lot of good stuff. There's also a lot of dumb stuff.
Stupid stuff,
uneducated nonsense.
Do you take the time to even engage it, or do you just go, no?
Yeah, I'll pretty much let them have it.
Will you?
Yeah. I mean, and I've kind of come to the conclusion, matter of fact, me and Keith was talking going down the road the other day, that I've come to the point that I see hunters, whenever it comes time, when you get somebody that approaches them and says, you don't have any right to do that. You don't have any reason for justifying why you kill stuff. And the more I thought about it, number one, we don't answer to you. First thing. And the second thing is anytime hunters get to the point to where when somebody like that approaches them and they say, well, I need you to justify why you have the right to go out and do what you do, and that hunter makes the mistake of giving an excuse, that not only insinuates, A, I owe you an excuse, but B, it almost kind of in a way insinuates that you have to have that to be able to enjoy your lifestyle. And I've got to the point where it's like, these people are not on our side. And no matter what we say or do, you're never going to satisfy them. So at what point as hunters do we collectively say, basically, we don't owe you an explanation. This is who we are. We're hunters. We're not asking you to explain or justify what you are and what makes you happy. So why do we owe you an excuse or justification for our lifestyle? And honestly, that point was 5 years ago. If you want to be brutally honest about it, people just don't understand what it means to grow up hunting and basically living a lifestyle, that's what you live for, and I see guys all the time. They're like, well, the reason that we kill coyotes is because we're helping landowners. Well, guess what happens? The next time that same anti-hunter goes and talks to the next guy, and that next guy says, well, I kill coyotes because I enjoy it. The next thing that's going to come out of that anti-hunter's mouth is, well, you shouldn't be able to kill coyotes unless you're helping a landowner. So the same excuse that I messed up and gave that person, they're going to turn around and use that. That's how they think, and it's like, I personally feel like that if we can just come to the conclusion to be proud of who we are, and stick to your guns, man. Stop making excuses for what you do. I live this way because I choose to live this way because I enjoy it. Get over it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I mean,
Yeah.
don't hate me for saying that. That's just the way that I feel.
Yep.
In fact, there's the last episode that I sent to Sportsman's Channel. It's probably going to upset a few people because that's what I think. We've reached that point to where, if we keep making excuses for who we are and what we do, where are we going to be 20, 30 years from now?
Not in a good. It's already going that way.
Our grandchildren and their kids going to look at going hunting on a weekend with dad as a thing of the past that everybody used to get to do because we gave too much away.
Yeah. And that's how it is too. You give a little bit and they take a lot, and you never get it back.
And let me back up and say this. Helping landowners, we do it all the time. In fact, that's, if there's one good aspect of what we do is we take care of properties for people that have cattle. We take care of properties for people that have chickens and goats and stuff like that. We help
Donkeys.
Yeah, donkeys too. Farmers that have that they grow corn and plant wheat and stuff like that. We kill a ton of pigs every year for these guys to legitimately helping them.
Yeah.
But I'm not about to go and use that excuse to make you feel better about why we do it.
Because it doesn't, like you said, you're never going to satisfy them. Like I get, and I'll get on YouTube and I'll cater to some of the comments where somebody, you can kind of nitpick through it, and somebody that might have a genuine question, like, why do you do that?
If they ask nicely,
yeah. But
I'll say, we help landowners.
Exactly. And that's what I'll explain it. And in the beginning I'm like, I'm 100% against having to justify to you our position.
Exactly.
But
we don't owe them that.
Exactly. But like, what if there's somebody that asks a question, or like, hey, and you might sense a genuine question.
They're generally trying to understand it,
and
versus saying, well, you just kill stuff just because you enjoy killing stuff.
Then you just freaking.
And it's just like they're hammering you like that. Well,
just that's you can't argue with stupid.
Go pound sand.
Yep.
I don't really care if that hurts your feelings. Just do some research before you start making comments.
And that's the thing.
Do your homework.
They won't. Like, that's where I was just getting at. So I'll mention to guys, I'll be like, well, then why do you do it? And since being a landowner and kind of, like I said, using I'm not making any excuses for fun. I mean, it's a very high percentage, probably the highest. It's fun. That's why we do it. If it wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it.
I've said from day one, it's the greatest sport on the planet.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, it would. If it was fun, if it wasn't fun, it wouldn't be the greatest sport on the planet. And that's, I get, you guys are in a little bit different scenario.
But we are, but we're not, because hunting's hunting. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a landowner, whether you're a non-landowner, whether a landowner gives you permission to hunt and do something to help them out, having to justify what you're doing to somebody that will never care doesn't matter. But like I said, it was no excuses. But I'll tell someone, all right, I hunt, or we do this around the place because during calving, we're eliminating a lot of the problems, which is 100% the truth. Where we'll go in when maybe the state can't come in. We did it numerous times last year and helped landowners because there was nobody else there to do it. And we can use that and explain it to them, and then they'll go, well, then it goes down the freaking rabbit hole. The guy will go, well, why don't you just build a fence? Right there. That's
right.
where you want to feel and help that person out and go, dude, you can't build a fence. You have to have a coyote can dig, right? They can dig underneath. Mm-hmm. They might be able to jump it. Well,
they're going to figure out a way how to get in there. No matter what. And
then you factor in a dollar amount where how much money is it to put a concrete footing 6 feet down and put a chain link fence 8 feet up?
That bullet's a whole lot cheaper.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's a whole lot cheaper, and it's a whole hell of a lot more fun than digging a fence.
Exactly.
I guess for me, the way that I look at it is, and people are going to say, that guy on NightCrew, he said he don't care nothing about helping landowners.
That's not what you're saying.
That's not it at all. We love being able to help landowners. But the thing is, that's a byproduct of us going out and enjoying our lifestyle.
Yeah.
It just comes with the territory.
Yep.
And I feel like that when guys get to the point where they start feeling that they end up having to give excuses for why they're really there, I'm not going to do that. You know, if in the day that I feel like that I caved, and I basically had to go and justify somebody that I consider honestly frankly as an enemy, you know, that they're the enemy of what you and I believe. No matter how you slice it, at the end of the day, if they could just snap their fingers and us be gone, they would do it.
Absolutely.
You know, so am I going to stand idle by and not stand my ground? No, you know.
But then again, you don't have the time of day to engage each one of them idiots and do the comments.
You know, if you're going to be an idiot, then be expected to be treated like an idiot. And if I act like an idiot, I expect to get treated like I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you think there's a fine line personally from what you do? There's a way that a guy can somewhat there may be people, there's people on the fence about it. I've talked to them, I've dealt with them, but you don't have to. It's a whole nother workload to try to cater to those guys. And I'm not even going to say cater, but try to explain to those guys why to do it.
Yeah, for the first few years or something that channel's existed, there was a bunch of people that I would get on there and I would try to explain to them this and that, and they kill calves and goats and chickens and all that. But, you know, honestly, I think there's a point where those people, I mean, I could tell them anything, and no matter what I do or no matter how much breath I waste, is it going to change their attitude at the end of the day? You know, and as far as being able to change anything, as far as benefiting other hunters, if anything, it's just standing our ground. Because I think a lot of those people that are, you know, the gun grabbers and stuff like that, I think a lot of those people just push and push and push and just get their finger in your face until finally somebody just stands up and says, you know what?
Yeah.
No.
But dude, look at how far it's going into like some of the contests, like where they're actually banning coyote calling contests. And I'll even say it like this. So, you know, you got the meat eater guy where he gets a show on Netflix because he's hunting for his food.
See, and that's another thing I touched on in this video, and that's a whole nother conversation, but I'll touch on it lightly. My personal feelings are, if you're a hunter and you call yourself a hunter and you ever publicly shame another hunter for going out and hunting and enjoying the way or style or method of hunting that he goes about, that he enjoys, and says, you shouldn't kill it unless you eat it. In my opinion, that's absolutely the worst excuse that you could ever go and basically try to lift yourself up on a pedestal and make your killing more noble than another hunter's killing because you don't eat it. A, have you ever actually ate a coyote? You know? And B, the same excuse as saying, oh, well, I get to hunt because I'm helping landowners. What do you think that does for that's basically echoing every anti-hunter's sentiments for anti-hunters. Because anybody that wants to shut us down, the first thing they're going to go and do is, well, unless you're going to eat it, there's no purpose for you killing it. That's not true. We do it because it's fun, it's our lifestyle, and we've lived our whole life doing it. And I'm not going to stop doing it just because I'm not eating it.
Exactly. That's what just needs to happen.
That's just the bottom line. That's the raw nut cutting, you know. And I don't know how else to put it than to just shoot you straight and tell you that's where I'm at on that. You know,
that's probably the easiest way to put it. In like I said, you can explain it other ways where, as soon as man has been introduced, and we've said this before on podcasts, if you look at the population boom that we have basically been a part of over the past 100 years, millions, billions of people on this earth, the dynamics change every year. Look at the corn that we have to plant. It yields 300 bushel out here in the sandhills. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when there was no Roundup, it was half of that.
Right.
Because the food that people make to feed a growing population, just the hunters that are hunting deer or elk or whatever for their food, maybe to fill the freezer.
Right.
Guys like you, guys like us that are out there hunting predators that prey on the species that they hunt. Mm-hmm. It's a symbiotic relationship. And a lot of the people, I would say, and not getting political, in the more in the cities, basically, they accuse us of doing stuff that they don't agree with, but look at the habitat that they've depleted by building the concrete jungle on it. But you can't be even start to say that.
You know, I heard something the other day. We were on our way up here. We were listening to, I think it was Joe Rogan podcast, and had Ted Nugent on there.
Oh, dude, I need to listen to that.
And everybody knows Uncle Ted. Well, long story short, last week we were watching, me and my wife were watching Yellowstone, and Costner was on there. They had these anti-hunter, you know, they were down on the streets with their signs, you shouldn't kill this and that. And this one lady was on there, and Kevin walked up to her, and he said, are you a vegetarian? And he's like, yes, well, I don't eat any meat. And he said, okay, whenever you go and eat that salad or whatever it is that you consider that's not meat, do you realize whenever the farmer goes and prepares that ground to grow that food that you say is kill-free, they kill every rodent, every snake, every grub. I mean, and the words the term that he used was, how cute does something need to be for it to be valuable, to where it's okay to kill it?
Yep.
And that's the thing that a lot of those kind of people don't understand. It's like, just because you see us killing a coyote or a bobcat or something like that, for them to be able to live their life, they're probably they're probably wearing a leather belt. They're probably
leather shoes.
Yeah. Did that leather fall out of the sky, or was a cow killed for you to be able to hold your pants up? You know, and that's the kind of thing that those types of people don't really take into consideration when they set out to shut down people that do what we do, you know. And even setting all that aside, it's, for me, them feeling good about it is not on my priority list, because I feel like that if we get too concerned about making those people, trying to pacify those people and make those people feel like, well, I've got a good enough explanation for why we do it, that's the wrong approach, is trying to negotiate with those people.
Because they're taken and you're given, and you're not ever going to get it back.
Yeah, I said something on that show I was telling you about. I said, no battle has ever been won by negotiating with the enemy.
Yeah, that's right.
The people that won were the people that stood their ground and beat the enemy. That's how you win a battle. And right now we're in a battle. No matter how you cut it, the longer it goes, the more those types of people start basically trying to weed us out. And I'm not, you know, it'll be a cold day in hell before I cave to those people.
Yep. And that's where it goes back to, like we were talking about, the YouTube, the social, the platforms, the social media platforms, where it's a scary deal. They're literally,
really
they're infringing. It's an infringement on basically your freedom of speech. You know, they're censoring it, and it's a bummer deal to see. But I think, like we've kind of touched on this last little segment, everybody, whether you do it for food, whether you're a trophy hunter, whether you do it for fun, for sport, for management, for protection, everybody needs to be on the same page.
They do, and I think that we've reached a point where hunters need to go and basically look as, we need to support each other, and not in any way basically try to put other hunters down, especially, you know, publicly. It's one thing to do it behind closed doors or over the phone, but whenever you basically start attacking other hunters, like online or on Facebook or wherever, the first thing that you do is you're basically giving leverage to all the people that want to put us down, you know. And I would say I'm sorry if I offended people, some hunters that say you should eat everything that you kill. But if you really think about it, when you say that, what about all the coyote hunters? What about, you know, guys like us that we've lived our whole life enjoying this sport? That's the guys they're not thinking about. All they're trying to do is make themselves look more noble because they killed something, because they're eating it.
Yeah, that's 100% the mindset too. I mean, we're past the days of literally having to kill our own food. We might go back to it, but we're past those days. And there's, like I said, there's nothing against it. We do it. We just did it today. Yeah. I mean, that's part of how our life is. But you said it good. I mean, you don't how many wars have been won by negotiating with the enemy? That's how it is.
I can't think of it.
Nope. It's just how it is. That's
He's
a
over
that's
here being like, man, I can't believe
that's
you're saying all
that's
this.
a good way to, dude. No, that's how we need to be structured. That's how hunters. We need to have guys like us growing hunting platforms like Rich and Tyler on Ultimate Night Vision. Get 1 million subscribers. The guy that has a few million, the gun guy, Demolition Ranch. Those guys all are part of. I guarantee you, those guys that are pro gun YouTubers, they don't have a problem with hunting.
No.
I'm going to assume that they don't.
I've always looked at it like this. If no matter what your thing is, it could be killing rats in your front yard with an air gun. If that's your hunting and that's what makes you happy and gives you that rush that you crave as a hunter, then so be it. Keep doing it and be proud of it, and don't let any other hunter come along and make you feel like you're less of a hunter. We get that comment all the time. Oh, that's not real hunting.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, so you're basically saying you're hunting and you're a real hunter because
why?
Because of why? I mean, you're telling me that basically pursuing a wild animal almost all night at times is not hunting. I mean, that's almost laughable if you think about it.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of things that I think that we need to wake up and look in the mirror and say, okay, who does that help when you do stuff like that? And it's not other hunters. It helps the people that are trying to, they're trying to shut us down. So I'm sorry I got off on
that's good, dude.
Onto that rant.
No, that's awesome. This is a good podcast, Chris. Awesome. We went through the whole thing from the start to finish. I think we got some awesome. Everybody that listens to us knows who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, they just do. It's an automatic. And if you for some reason haven't, Chris runs NightCrew and does, like I said, I would classify it as the highest quality videography that's out there, especially some of the night stuff. It's unreal, legit stuff. So we had a fun time with you guys out here. It's always fun, and
it's been a blast.
It's cold. You guys got up. You guys went from a 80 degree day to 0 degrees, 80 degree temperature swing in a couple days. So
and snow,
our
foot or better,
and wind.
Yeah.
And Rich got a salvo kill, and Chris got a. Didn't you shoot a coyote up here earlier? Or was that the first one that you did?
No, the other night that was the first.
Was it really?
Yeah, I thought he got one before too, but
I wouldn't. When you came out with carnivore, I would have. I don't give a shit. I would have ran the camera, let you freaking blaze away.
I would rather be on the camera, to be honest with you.
I'm the same way.
Dustin
might have got butthurt a little bit. That would have been good to see, though. That would have been good to see. Anything else, dude?
I don't know. What you give me some questions, Keith. Keith is like, are we going to go kill something, or are we just going to sit here and yak?
No, we're good, dude.
We're gonna. Don't you worry.
You said you were about to get to the real questions, get down to the dirty.
No, I just said we're just going to sit around and bullshit.
Oh.
We're good.
I think we got a good one, though. That's awesome, Chris. We appreciate it. We got some good information on what you do, how you've got to where you are, and we're excited to see where you continue to go, dude. All the luck, best of luck from us to you, and we appreciate it.
No, it's definitely my pleasure. We've definitely had a blast coming down. We appreciate the invite. We don't take it lightly.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we can do a collab sometime again, do some work again. You're welcome here anytime.
For sure.
Like I said.
You guys are welcome. Y'all need to
figure
out a way to get to Texas.
We do. That's what Tyler was saying.
First.
Huh?
We got to get out of South Dakota first.
Yeah, that might help.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna mute us out. And once again, guys, this has been a Predator Hunter podcast. We had Chris Robinson from NightCrew on. We had Keith Rissy with us along. We kind of went through everything he's done, where he's going, and a ton of good info. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining, but more importantly, we hope you found it informational. And we are out.